causing tensions between modernists and ultra-conservatives. To fight against fundamental interpretations of the Koran, the government decided to print copies locally, what some are calling standard copies. The goal, to print 1 million sacred books a year. They're sent to local mosques, but also to France and West Africa. In Moroccan schools, the teaching of Islam is still a controversial topic. Religious associations are mostly in charge of that, and it's done in a very traditional way, which worries those with a more liberal approach. Christelle Marot and Jean-Marie LEMAIRE sent us this report, voiced by Josh Vardey.
The Koran, the most sacred book for all Muslims across the world. In times gone by, they would hand illustrate each page, but these days the Koran mostly gets mass-produced. Those printed here in Morocco generally correspond to the Warsh version of the book, a symbolic gesture that's also political. The Warsh version promotes a pragmatic, tolerant Islam, avoiding the more conservative interpretations offered by Wahhabism. The wheels barely ever stop turning at this printers in Mohammedia in the country's northwest. Over 800,000 Korans were printed here in 2012. Religious authorities in Morocco now aim to print 1 million copies every year to meet growing demand for them at home and abroad.
Once we've reached that stage, we'll go on to better serve Moroccans living in Europe, in Italy, France, Germany, Belgium, because they're forever asking us for more and more copies.
Other than Moroccan mosques, 25,000 copies were sent to France last year. Morocco also provides them to mosques in West Africa.
The Qurans are placed here to permit the faithful to find enlightenment and eternal well-being.
However, the way in which Islam is taught in Morocco remains controversial. This researcher was recently sent death threats after he publicly criticized content from some of the textbooks.
We sometimes find texts which, for example, call for Sharia law to be applied, because Morocco does not enforce Sharia law. That means things like stonings and beheadings and cutting the hands of thieves. Those things aren't practiced these days, but are still taught to children. It's dangerous.
This Salafist follower was imprisoned for 8 years after the Casablanca bombings in 2003. He says the teaching of Islam must be strengthened in every school.
These values must be promoted. They must be taught and extended to all the national schools of Morocco. Sharia is not just about beheadings and cutting off hands. There's much more to it than that.
In every Moroccan town, there are Quran schools called Kutab. In this poor area of Casablanca, children start learning Arabic and the Quran from the age of 4. There's a constant struggle across the country between the proponents of a modern reading of Islam and the ultra-conservatives. In both public and Quran schools, teaching mostly remains traditional. These boys are learning the Quran by heart, as students have done for centuries. They write and copy out verses by hand on large wooden boards. It takes years to master the 61 chapters of the Holy Book.
The children come here to learn the Quran and learn some of the Islamic principles. For example, the correct way of life as revealed by the Prophet.
In Morocco, this teaching is mainly delivered by religious groups associated with the Salafists, a situation that worries secularists and modernists.
You're watching live from Paris. It's time now for sports, and we kick